Hey, this is Pastor Dave coming to you with your Monday Mojo. Hope you had a good weekend. Amazing weather, right? So I guess it's about 30 years ago now when I came into the conference as a United Methodist pastor. And every year at the beginning of our annual conference meeting, they would separate us out into clergy and laity. And the clergy would go through things like who's coming into the conference, who's retiring, who's forfeiting their credentials. But they'd always give the retiring guys a chance to line up, guys and gals. They would line up front. And then they would pass a microphone and allow them to give us kind of a final address. And it was going down the line, and they got to this one gentleman who I didn't know, did not recognize his name. And he grabbed the microphone and he said, "Well, I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm really worried about these young guys." And I was like, oh, here comes the whippersnapper speech, right? And then he said something that I have never forgotten, and I think is even very relevant today. He said this. He said, when I first came into the conference, he said, we would come together for annual conference, and there were some issues. There were things that we had to deal with every annual conference, that there were topics and policies and ideas and theologies and practices that we had to sit down and talk about. And there were people on both sides of the issue. We'd go into a room and we would argue it out, and we would defend our position passionately, and we'd say whatever we wanted to say about the position, and we would fight for it. But there came a point when a vote was taken. And once the vote was taken, it was done, we realized that we had all voted together. And here's how it played out. Now, sometimes it was your way and sometimes it wasn't. He said, these young guys don't know how to fight for an idea and still be unified at the end. Man, that's what scares me today about us as a country. We just recently had an election, right? About half of the country voted for one guy and about half of the country voted for another guy. And truthfully, that's the way it's been for a long time. However, there seems to be this idea these days that if you don't agree with my policy, then something is horribly wrong with you. And we don't know how to sit down at the table and fight vehemently or strongly or passionately for our idea, and then at the end, when a vote is taken, say, okay, we voted as a group. We are united together as brothers and sisters in this whole thing. So I hope as we move forward, we learn to do that better. It's truly what made us America, that we realized that we had varying and disparate viewpoints on ideas, but that we could sit down and hammer them out, yell and cuss if we have to, but then in the end, we as a people would decide. So I hope we learn to do that better, instead of casting names and, I don't know, talking smack about each other just because we don't agree with each other's position. Anyway, a little political today, but it's also, I think, human. And I hope that's helpful for you. That's your Monday Mojo.